Hope you're all fierce. Welcome to The Performer's Path, the podcast where we delve into the highs and lows of the performance industry and beyond. If it's using your creative juices for onstage, in auditions, or those in-between jobs, we discuss it all with real people in the industry who've been there and got the t-shirt as a gift. By discussing audition rejections and success, we're taking away the fear of the unknown, whilst also giving vital tips for success. So let's tread the boards together in this week's episode. In episode 2, JP discusses the difference between a dance and singer contract and all about unconscious networking.
Then I got hired as a singer and I got loads more money, like double money, and I got a gorgeous cabin.
What's that all about?
Don't even get me started, because it really, really riles me up, because at the same time, yes, there's hierarchies, but different skill sets, but the dancers or ensemble, however you want to call them, are still so talented.
Okay.
And in some cases, they're most probably more talented than some singers, because some singers can sing, yes, but they can't dance and sing and express, act. And even now, in this day, when I did Mommy in the West End, the amount of money difference is astronomical. It's weird. I just don't understand it.
The only one it's not the same in, or it was when I was working, was Cats. And that was the only one that actually got a bit more.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I've never been in Cats.
That was Germany's.
Germany's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so anyway, we'll get to that.
We digress. So then, and then I remember, to cut a long story short, we ended our time with NCL and we had to go our separate ways because I was building towards Ashley's visa to come here. So I had to earn money in England, paying tax, which I hadn't done.
So what did you do?
I joined 2 vocal groups. One was called the Merseyboys, which was famously owned by the Pearsons.
Yes, it was fantastic.
James and Rosie Pearson. I met them on NCL as performers. We never did a show together, but saw each other in rehearsals, very much kind of like, hello, we know your face and we know that you're big, and we were kind of like one of those couples. Anyway, then one ship contract, we took over their room, and James and Rosie left us gorgeous, bottles of wine, glasses, presents, gifts, and we wrote to them saying, thank you so much, the room's gorgeous. Like, normally you get into a room and it's been left. Anyway, after that contract, James and Rosie moved to Liverpool. And obviously I live in Wirral, and they were like, we were just wondering if you wanted to hang out because we've got no friends. And I was just like,
this is our patron, that.
Oh.
Here's the patron.
No, but he didn't know anyone in Liverpool, and he was just like, we're doing this group. Would you be interested in auditioning? So I auditioned for the Merseyboys, and that kind of has transitioned to a point where 12 years later, we now go every year to James's birthday party. We speak regularly. But I started the Merseyboys. I was with them for 8 years, on and off, throughout different work progress. And we did pubs. We did some stadiums, like with smaller jobs. We did some guest ent jobs on cruise ships. We did one for 2.5 months with Norwegian, which I loved, in the Baltics. At the end of that year, when we talk about this year, I didn't make enough money for the visa, so I had to stay another year in the UK because I had to make more money. So then I joined another group, which is the Livertones, which actually was owned by the Curtises, Adam Curtis. Yeah. I gigged with them, sometimes like 4 or 5 times a week.
Wow.
Going to holiday parks, all in the UK. And I'll kid you not, weirdly, some of those nights were the most fun and entertaining I've ever had, because you don't know what's going to happen. You turn up, you got your sound check, your show, but you haven't done it a few days or a week, and you just got to go for it. And then the audiences, as you know, can throw you, because they're like, I remember when we went to Pontins, and it was an over 50s Pontins, and I was like, this is going to be absolutely abysmal, because we ended with Justin Timberlake, Can't Stop the Feeling, Bruno Mars, Uptown Funk, which at the time was big. And I was like, this isn't going to go well.
I love that one.
And it was one of the best nights of my life, because they were so up for it. They were walkers, crutches, wheelchairs. And weirdly, another one we did in South Wales in a little tiny shepherd's hut. I was like, oh, where the... And there was about 200 people, 300 people, and they made me feel like I was Robin Williams.
Excellent.
I know it wasn't the dream, but I felt so fulfilled, even in these smaller moments.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's beautiful.
You should never knock any opportunity, because you don't know what it's going to bring. Because at the time you think, oh, this is not I feel mortified. I'm in a little hut in the middle of the glens of Wales, doing something I'm getting paid £110 to do. And I had one of the best nights of my life that I still remember it.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then what happened, I then got a job for Disney in concert, and it was, to this day, one of my favourite jobs of my life. I got to sing Disney music with 60-piece orchestras going around Europe.
Oh, wow.
We went to Norway, Malta, Germany, Belgium, UK.
Did you make it to Germany that time?
I did think it did. Well, there's a little segue for you. Yeah, so went to all these countries. I sang with these amazing orchestras. And originally, what's weird is I got to know we had to sing with this woman called Lisa Stopka. And Lisa Stopka is actually the original Sophie from Mamma Mia. I didn't know at the time. I was just like, you're amazing. I think you're really good. And she's also the Norwegian Elsa's track dub. Yeah. But obviously since then, I've now kept in touch with her as well. And we've met a few times, especially 25th anniversary last year. Yeah. She came. I was like, hi, so nice to see you. Anyway, and then after that, where am I?
You've just done Disney, babe.
I've just done Disney. So that was a year. Good story. That's a good audition song story as well. It's a fun. It involves an airport as well, so that's
good. No, not another one.
Anyway, then I moved to Australia because Ashley was Australian. She'd been living here, and I was like, oh, I've got to spend some time in Australia. I was an audition runner for Royal Caribbean. And I was like, wow, this is so good. And I was like, I really want to be in the musicals. But Ashley wasn't a singer, so I never auditioned for the ship musicals, even though we were in Norwegian and they'd have musicals. But then Ashley went, I'm not going back. She was done. Yeah. So I was like, would you mind if I audition? So I auditioned for Royal.
She went, please.
She was like, no, absolutely go. So I remember I auditioned in Sydney, Royal Caribbean. It was just a general fleas audition, and I got a no.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, John-Paul, sorry, you're not what we're looking for. I was like, great. I'm walking down Sydney Wharf. The brother comes up to me and said, John-Paul, can you come back, please? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Getting all excited. They're like, okay, so we don't want you for this job. And I went, right?
You brought me back here.
You brought me back to tell me that I haven't got a job again. Thanks. They were like, no, but we're wondering, are you going back home anytime soon? This was April. And I went, actually, yeah, I'm going home in 8 weeks. They were like, well, we've got auditions in August for Mamma Mia. We would really like you to audition for Mamma Mia. I was like, great, yeah, all right. So I turned up at the audition. It's a dance round straight away. At this point, I hadn't danced in 8 years properly. Like I'd done the basic dancing, singer dancing, and it was the full dance call, and I was like, and it was literally like, and they pulled me and they were like, okay, we want to do this, and did all the rounds. I got the job as the dance understudy. Did that. It was wow. It was just the best. Loved it. Still didn't really like ship life, but loved it. The money was good. So much so I did it again. Yeah. I took a year off.
So it's like, Mamma Mia, here we go again.
Literally, here we go again. And the second time, I really don't want to go back on ships, but I'll do it for this amount of money. I said, I will only go for this. I will not leave this country unless I get this paid. And they paid me $40 extra on top. So I went, oh, I've got to take it now.
That's happened to me a few times.
At that point, I'd never been paid that much money. So I was like, oh. Like it was $1,500 more than my last contract. I didn't think they were going to say yes. And then at that point, I remember going, I'm never doing a ship again unless I got a lead role. So I made that decision, and then COVID hit. And I was like, oh, well, what am I going to do now? And I was lost. I had nothing, because all I wanted to be was a performer. I'd never thought about an extra talent or an extra skill, or what would I do if I didn't. I had never thought, what's my plan B? And I kind of regret that. But my friends went, well, why don't you just, and I went, I'll bake something for my friends.
I remember seeing them on Facebook.
I sent it to one of my friends down south. And she went, you can sell these. And I went, oh, I can't. And she went, no, you can. She went, she said, just put them in a nice package and just put them on Facebook, see if you get any buyers. Well, I did that. And I got some sellers. And now the company's 5 years old. The Cake Man Wirral. In that time, obviously COVID finished, and Mamma Mia came back around on the ship, but I'll just audition, because if you want a lead role that you haven't done before, you've got to re-audition for Royal. So I went, oh, it's really good. I had a good audition. And they offered me Bill. And I thought, right, they gave me more money.
Oh,
and I was just like, oh.
And my diamond slippers are too tight.
I will say that one was one of the hardest contracts. That was 2022 to 23.
Were you all masked up and all that?
Yeah. Double masks. At one point, they wouldn't let us go outside.
Oh, no.
We couldn't exercise. They said you can go out on the helipad, and the helipad is maybe double the size of this room for the whole ship.
Oh my God.
We weren't allowed to leave the room except for work and eat. You weren't allowed to eat with one person.
You were in jail?
In jail. My room was 7 foot by 5 foot, and we just had to sit in that room waiting to go to work. We were allowed to mix, we were allowed to socialise, we could only call, literally on a phone. I came home from that contract with insomnia. I didn't know until very recently I was actually suffering a bit of trauma. I found ships hard anyway, but I felt like I was in jail. They wouldn't even let you go next door to talk to a neighbour. You were just isolated. That was the first half of the contract, so it was very weird. Second half, that's when I couldn't sleep. I was 3 or 4 days a week, I wasn't sleeping at all.
Wow.
So then I had to do a sleeping course. So lost, literally lost at sea. How
did the company, did you ask for help with that?
The thing is with ships is there are certain things that you can't talk about because they'll ship you home.
Right.
So anything to do with kind of mental health is a big no-no.
Right.
So even now to this day, because they're just scared about losing someone and getting killed. So I just knew that I had to handle this myself. And I felt quite alone because obviously everyone's asleep and they're going, I just have to get through a show tomorrow, and I couldn't do it.
So how did you get your life back with that?
I did a thing called Sleep Station. I had to pay £150. It was like a course, an online course. And they basically started me back onto being able to sleep. They kind of turned my own life around. But it has haunted me really ever since I come off, so 2 years. I'm still not where I am, but say for instance, if I go out on a night out and I come back really late, I'll really struggle to wind down to get back into sleep. Or if it's too loud or too bright, whereas I never ever had that problem before. I'm very light and things can wake me up. If I'm more awake, I can't get back into sleep. And that was my problem was I couldn't fall asleep, I couldn't get into the sleep. So
what strategies, because I have a lot of students come to me and say that they're so wired, they're so overwhelmed by things that they actually, sleeping is a massive issue. Yeah. So what strategies
you get for that? You basically have to starve yourself in terms of you can't nap ever. You have to exhaust the body. Right. You have to exhaust the mind, and you have to have a set time when you wake up, set time you go to sleep. Regardless of it, you have to stick to that time. You then, if you can't sleep after 20 minutes, because normally within 20 minutes everyone can fall asleep, you have to get up, get out of the sleeping space. And you have to do an activity, not TVs, not phones, nothing with that blue light. You have to read, decaf tea, crosswords, walk. So I used to spend a lot of time walking on the deck, which on a ship people are very wary of because that's when they're thinking of doing dark things. So people allow me sometimes to walk around the ship. They're like, sir, you have to go in. You have to go in. You're not allowed to do this. So yeah, and then I came home and I
suppose because that room is so small as well, that's your living space and your sleeping space as well.
I was lucky at that point. I did have a bigger room. Even then, the room's most probably fits a double bed, a wardrobe, and that's kind of it. Yeah, you've got a bit of walkway. Yeah. It's not big and it's got a bathroom, but yeah, I couldn't go into the living room because I was in it, so I couldn't break a cycle because it was my room. Yeah. So I would go and sit in the theatre 4 a.m. in the morning, just sitting there because I had to get out. Yeah. Or sit in the dressing room, and I just knew I had to do this myself. Then I came home and I really struggled. I'd taken a lot of sleeping pills and melatonin that you can only get in America, and now I think I've only taken half melatonin twice this year. Wow. So it's definitely. Don't get me wrong, there are still days where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go. And then, because there are, just as every human, we all have thoughts. Yeah. Sometimes we can't switch those off. It's weird, the other night, on Friday, I got that job. I was so excited.
Right.
I was pumped.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get to sleep. And I just knew it was fine. I just knew I was like psyched and I was inspired. But I got to sleep. So that was that. It came home March 2023 and started to re-audition again. And one of the first auditions was for Mamma Mia in West End. And I previously auditioned for Mamma Mia UK tour. And I got down to the final 2. And that's when COVID hit.
The gift that keeps on giving.
So auditioned, obviously it went very well. I was like, oh, that's really good. I did 4 auditions and in the end, I got that phone call. I was working in Brimstead Farm in Wirral as a manager and they said, JP, you've got the West End. And I was like, what? He was like, they've offered you the West End.
No, I've got goosebumps.
And I was just like, wow. I couldn't believe it because at this point I was 39 years old. I had been out of college for 15 years.
I know because you text me.
Yeah. I wrote to you and be like, I just wanted to know that I've got what I wanted.
And I said, about time.
You did. You did. And I just couldn't believe that it was actually going to happen. And at first, I genuinely didn't think I could do it because I knew, no, as in financially.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a flat up north. Ashley couldn't move. She has a business here. Yeah. And I said, I've done the numbers of how much I get paid. I went, I can't afford to pay for this flat and that flat and live in London and pay for everything I need. I physically can't do it. Ashley, my wife, who's amazing, she literally went, you're not saying no to this. She went, you are taking it. And obviously at this point, I'd already been away from her for 3 years on ships.
Yeah, she obviously enjoyed it.
She did. She had a great time. She loves being by herself. So to her, she's like, I can breathe for a year. No, but she was like, there's absolutely no way. She went, we will go into more debt, to make this happen. We made it happen. I go, and it's everything I ever dreamed.
Oh, I'm so glad.
It was every night doing that finale, I would look up into that audience going, and I'm getting goosebumps again. Just because I never took a single moment for granted. Yes, there were days that were harder. There were times when my knees were sore and I was exhausted because it's 6 days a week, it's 8 shows, 8 or 9 shows in a week, and it's relentless. But I was just like, I would walk into the dressing room and I was with these people who were seasoned performers. And I was like, it's amazing, it's the best day ever. And they were like, who are you? And I was just like, and the boys now will still tell you that. They're literally like, JP, you are a lot. Because I'm just like, I was like, yeah, but I'm here, I'm in this building. And I was just like, I was with these people like the 2 that won the TV show, Maz Murray, surrounded by all these amazing seasoned performers. And then you got all these young kids coming out of school, so talented. And I was just like, the amount of talent I was surrounded by, I was completely humbled, but I didn't feel out of my depth. I was very comfortable. I was like, there's all these people.
All right, that's it for another episode. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And wherever you are on your performer's path, stay safe and sane, and let your creative light shine bright on whatever you do.